Welcome to Think About It with your host, Jaden Miller.
Good day, and welcome to Think About It with Jaden Miller. I am your host, Jaden Miller. I hope you all are having a fabulous day. Today is Sunday, January 12th, and before I settle down, and I've got to remember that I've got a photo session today. So had a wonderful one yesterday and maternity session, and now I've got one today. So my life is I'm always running, always doing something. But anyway, before I go out and do this photo session today, I just had to take a few minutes to talk about this TikTok ban that might be coming up next week. All right. Now, just when I get to start liking a social media platform, they want to take it away. And my question is, why do they want to take it away? I'll try to answer that in the next couple of minutes. But TikTok has been making its case before the Supreme Court. So yes, this went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Lawmakers last April or May came up with a bill to ban TikTok here in the United States. And that always causes me problems when lawmakers want to ban something that most of us consider speech. And as a person that has taught constitutional law, and as a person that really believes in the Bill of Rights, those first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution, and as someone who also is a big believer in the founding fathers, how frail and how tragic and how human they were, and how mean some of them could be, especially the people of color, they were right. We should all have freedom of speech. And it always makes me wonder when a government wants to ban other people from freely expressing themselves. And so on Friday, TikTok was making its case before the Supreme Court. So what this is about is what some would say national security. So there are concerns that the Chinese government could gain access to sensitive user data through the app, which is owned by the Chinese company ByteDance. So Congress passed legislation last spring that would ban the social media platform unless it was sold to a government-approved buyer. So here we go. Now the government has to approve who buys TikTok. The government didn't have to approve who bought Facebook or Instagram or Snap or any of these other ones. So I don't know. I'm starting to wonder about this. But President Biden, someone who I really like, signed the legislation into law last spring, giving ByteDance until January 19th. And that is coming up to divest from TikTok. So now TikTok lost its first legal effort to overturn the law back on December 6th of last year, when a panel of 3 federal judges unanimously rejected TikTok's argument that the law violated the First Amendment. And in my opinion, it does violate the First Amendment. We have the right to free speech. All right. So there's a chance that President-elect Donald J. Trump might try to rescue the app. You know who he is. Some of us call him Diaper Don and Mango Mussolini or Cheeto Don. But TikTok has 170 million users in the United States. So this law is supposed to go into effect a day before his inauguration. All right. So let me give you a little bit more details because this is really serious, folks. All right. And sometimes I wonder why some of these brain dead lawmakers, we've got so many other issues going on in the world. Inflation is high and housing prices and all of that. And they tend to find themselves centered around TikTok. And I'll try to remember to share with you my reasons why I really think that they want to ban TikTok. But so lawmakers and regulators in the United States have lots of concerns about TikTok and its parent company ByteDance because they think that this company puts sensitive user data, for example, like location information, into the hands of the Chinese government. You know, I'm starting to wonder, who would I be more afraid of? Would I be more afraid of the Chinese government, or would I be more afraid of our own government when it comes to banning stuff? But anyway, they have pointed to laws that allow the Chinese government to secretly demand data from Chinese companies and citizens for what? Intelligence gathering operations. And here we go. This has to do, they say, with national security. Now, mind you, I really don't think that the Chinese care about where most of us live. I really don't. I think the Chinese have a whole lot more to be concerned about than whether or not somebody in Buckeye, Arizona, or Washington, D.C., or Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, or my hometown of Chicago, what the latest TikTok dance is. But maybe there's something I don't know, okay? So our lawmakers are worried that China could use TikTok's content recommendations to fuel misinformation. And this is a concern that escalated in the United States after the start of the Israeli-Hamas war and during the presidential election. Some people say that TikTok has fueled the spread of anti-Semitism. I do not believe that. TikTok has long denied such allegations and has tried to distance itself from ByteDance, which is considered to be one of the world's most highly valued startups. All right. So now the question is, how would they ban TikTok? So are they going to come into your house and tell you, hey, you can't watch it anymore or anything like that? No. What would happen is that they would take a ban at app stores like those operated by Apple and Google. And so the premise is, if they distribute or update TikTok, the federal government could impose civil penalties on them. And then also for internet hosting companies, they would also be barred from helping to distribute or maintain TikTok. The push to force a TikTok sale has generated speculation among potential buyers, including a group of investors brought together by former Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, and then large corporations. And then there's also a billionaire named Frank McCourt who's also expressed interest in purchasing TikTok. So the sell or be banned approach has raised concern among advocates for digital rights that the United States may be undermining its role in promoting an open and free internet that is not controlled by individual countries. So again, when would this ban take effect? It would take effect as soon as January 19th. January 19th would be next week, Sunday. All right. The Supreme Court is hearing its arguments, and in an effort to try to resolve the case before that deadline. So there is also this chance that ByteDance and TikTok could consider a sale under the terms of law, which would give TikTok several more months to operate in the United States. And so Donald Trump's administration promises to save the app. And so that presents a wild card. Now, that's really something. Donald Trump wants to save TikTok. Initially, he was against TikTok, though. All right, so let me get back to you. So would TikTok be removed from your phone? Probably not. As I've already mentioned, they would penalize internet hosting companies and they would penalize Apple and Google for distributing it. But without any company being able to distribute it or update it or anything, TikTok would just probably degrade over time. All right. So what should you do right now to protect data if you use TikTok? So there are lots and lots of people that make money off of TikTok. And then there are those of us that just like a laugh or two from time to time. OK. So to protect your privacy on TikTok, you can employ the same practices you use to protect yourself on other social media platforms. That includes not giving apps permission to have your access to your location or contacts, which I do not do. All right. Can a Diaper Don, the Mango Mussolini, can Cheeto Don save TikTok? He's repeatedly signaled his support for the app on the campaign trail. Well, of course, as you know, he won last November. And he also filed a brief in December urging the Supreme Court to pause the ban. Now, back in 2020, he wanted TikTok to be banned. And I wonder what happened. Why did he change his mind? Well, a spokesman for his team told the New York Times that he will deliver on a plan to rescue the app, but as usual, provided few details about how he would do so. It would take an act of Congress to repeal the law. And there are some experts that have speculated that Mr. Trump could ask his new attorney general to refrain from enforcing it. All right. Well, if you know anything about government, you know we have three branches of government: the legislative branch, the judicial branch, and the executive branch. Okay, let's see if you guys remember any of this. What does the legislative branch do? I'm waiting. They make the laws. And what does the executive branch do? Do you remember? They enforce the laws. And what does the judicial branch do? They interpret the laws. So if the Supreme Court decides, hey, we're going to ban it, well, then Donald Trump is a part of the what? Executive branch. He might just not enforce it. Wouldn't that be something? All right. So here are three branches of government are supposed to work together. And we already have the president saying, you know what? Hey, if the Supreme Court puts in a ban, I just may not enforce it. All right. Well, what do you all think about this? This is called Think About It with Jaden Miller. Let me just address a couple of things, because it's not just wanting to ban TikTok because of national security concerns, but here come the real reasons why some people want to ban it. Okay. Number one, okay, some political candidates, especially back prior to the election, felt as though they were getting the bad straw, that people were saying negative things about them, and there were all the memes and all of that stuff about them on TikTok. Now, mind you, some of that same stuff was on Facebook and some of it was on Instagram as well. But for some reason or another, they want to target TikTok. Well, guess what? It's free speech. And you know what? If you are so sensitive that you're going to get upset because someone makes a meme of you or someone makes a video of you criticizing you or making fun of you, hey, that's what they've been doing since the beginning of this country. All right. So that might be one reason. Another is some people say that there is this addictiveness factor. But TikTok does have a feature that tells users to leave the application after 60 minutes. I mean, you know, there are some people that are addicted and like to watch. That's true. But you know, I mean, parents have a responsibility to restrict their children. And then those of us that are adults, I mean, if I want to watch TikTok videos for 10 hours, I should be able to. That's my business, not the government's. Misinformation, that's another thing. TikTok claims it does not allow misinformation as part of its community guidelines and actively works to remove it. It also does not accept political ads. See? Now, I have to admit, okay, there are some times that I have gone on TikTok and I've seen some videos that I did not like. And I actually submitted, you know, something to their community guidelines, and sometimes they'll remove it, but they do at least look and investigate it. So, you know, those people that are claiming that TikTok allows misinformation, they actually really strive to make sure that all is good on their app. Another concern was children's safety. There are many concerns over children abusing or misusing the application. However, TikTok has different UX for users under 13. For example, they cannot go viral and cannot use the private messaging feature. All right, so there's that. And then there's this other thing about mental health. Content that promotes eating disorders, tobacco use, or suicide is a concern. However, TikTok, like most social media companies, has a content moderation policy and aims to remove all violating content. See, again, this is where I just don't like these people that are two-faced, you know? I really don't. And a lot of our legislatures, our lawmakers are really two-faced, okay? And they shouldn't be, but they are, okay? I mean, if you're at least going to be two-faced, at least make one of them cute, you know? And they're not doing that, all right? Because look at the world around us, all right? Let's look at video games, okay? There are kids that sit and watch video games, play video games all day. I mean, all day, okay? Don't eat well, drink Red Bull all day, you know, but yet they're not trying to ban video games, huh? What about that? I'm wondering. When I was a kid, there were all kinds of violent TV shows, and there still are, okay? I mean, there's Netflix where you can watch all kinds of gore and violence, okay? But they're not trying to ban Netflix or Prime Video or Hulu or ABC, CBS, or NBC. I don't know. Then there's this thing about selling data. Gathering and selling data that TikTok doesn't need to make a profit is a concern. TikTok claims it does not sell data to data brokers, okay? And then there's this whole thing about data security. Data leaks are a concern. Data leaks are a risk with any online service in common with social media. TikTok and other social media platforms use data access protocols to protect and organize data into categories of sensitivity. So now, President Biden banned the application, meaning TikTok, on federal and public sector employees' phones, and TikTok is banned on state employees' phones in 32 of 50 states. There have been several states that have also recently sued TikTok. The first state to sue the company was Indiana on claims that the application serves users inappropriate content and violates consumer protection laws in its data collection practices. The state of Arkansas sued TikTok, ByteDance, and Facebook's parent company Meta over claims that the companies violate the Deceptive Trade Practices Act. And then Montana was the first United States state to pass legislation banning TikTok on all personal devices. This bill was to go into effect last January 2024, but a federal judge temporarily blocked the ban, saying it likely violated the First Amendment. There you go. The law would have prevented the app from operating within the state, Montana, and fined app stores that hosted TikTok within state lines up to $10,000 per day. There have been a number of universities that have also banned the app on their networks. All right. I'm just really concerned about this banning. It's not only the United States that has or that wants to have a full TikTok ban. There are other countries that either have partial bans or have banned TikTok outright. So, for example, Afghanistan, India, Iran, Nepal, and Somalia have total bans on TikTok. And then there are other areas around the world that have partial bans. So Australia has bans on devices issued by some individual government agencies. So does Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France on professional phones of civil servants, New Zealand on parliament members and lawmakers' work devices, Norway on government work devices, Taiwan on government devices, the UK on government devices, and of course the United States on federal government devices and systems. All right. What is it that is concerning them so much? So I guess my question is, what type of data does TikTok collect that some in our country believe that China might be collecting to use against the government, maybe against us? Well, some data that TikTok uses is how long a user stays on a page, if a user shares a video, if a user swipes away from a video, if a user comments on a video, if a user likes a video. Don't that happen on YouTube though? Basic login information such as name, age, phone number, and email address, location data, IP address, and biometric data. So, I don't know. Is this TikTok ban, do you think that this is worthwhile? The reason why this is a major concern for me is this. I'm already concerned about the changes in our governmental leadership, okay? And that's mainly because of some of the comments that have been stated, some of the policies that will be going into effect pretty soon, and then also just the all and out racism and threat to deport people, especially those that are of a browner hue, out of the country so that it can become what some wanted it to be, and that is, a white country. And it concerns me because when I look back in history, as a history teacher, and I'm not going way back in time, I'm just going to go back to the 1920s. And there was an individual who was convicted and sentenced to prison right after World War I. And while he was in prison, he spent some time. And he really was upset over the fact that his country, Germany, lost World War I. And he was able to target the blame specifically on a couple of groups of individuals. And when he got out of prison, he started an organization that was very, very small, and a lot of people around his country laughed at him and laughed at his organization and just felt that, oh, you know what, here he goes again with all of that silly talk and all of this nonsense. And somehow or another, this person who they would never, ever would have thought, especially with the criminal conviction, would be able to move up in government. But lo and behold, he becomes the chancellor in that country. And then finally, the all-out ruler of that country. And along the way up, there were things that were starting to be banned, like free speech and freedom of religion. And then there were groups of people who, for many, many years, lived aside or beside those same people in the country. And then they were told that there were certain jobs they could not have. And then their financial situation was changed from maybe being good to being bad overnight. And maybe shops and businesses that they owned were vandalized. There was this whole issue of mass deportation of them. And in fact, that was attempted. And when it didn't work totally, they were put into what is called ghettos. Okay. And all with this intent purpose, okay, of annihilating an entire group of people, but not just those people, a whole bunch of other ones too that didn't agree with what his philosophy was. And so that is my major concern about this, getting on this slippery slope of starting to ban what our founding fathers that came here from Great Britain and did not like the tyranny that King George III thrust upon them in Parliament, and said that in this country that the people should have freedom of speech and the freedom to express themselves. And when that can't happen, that stifles, it really stifles dialogue. It stifles intelligence. It stifles people's ability to be creative. And that is a major concern of mine. And so I will leave you with that. All right. I am really concerned about banning, because today is TikTok. What will it be tomorrow? All right. This is Jaden Miller. Thank you guys for listening today. I hope you will continue to turn into my podcast, Think About It with Jaden Miller. Please like and share. share, and subscribe on my YouTube channel, and like, comment, and follow on your favorite podcast platform. Again, thank you guys for listening. I'll catch up with you on my next episode of Think About It with Jaden Miller. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Think About It with Jaden Miller. Don't forget to like and subscribe to his YouTube channel and like and follow on your favorite podcast platform.